Welcome to the final part of this series for now. We're just by at the town of Llanberis, and everything we've seen so far, the quarry on the hill behind us there, the two tramway railways to get the slate from the quarry to the port. This is the quarry, and this is, I suppose, that's the nerve centre of the railway, I suppose you could say. And we've just come to see a little bit of that old Padarn Railway that's found a new lease of life, keeping those memories alive of these old quarry railways for leisure purposes these days. I know this is a Lake Padarn, or Padarn in Welsh. As we've learned so far with this Padarn Railway, 4-foot gauge, wasn't it? Apart from the end bit where it went down to the Port Dinorwic, down the incline through that tunnel, that was 2 foot. But obviously it was 2 foot in the quarry. And this is the end of the Padarn Railway. This is as far as the Padarn Railway went. So this is where they got the slate from the quarry onto the trains to go down to the port. Sorry if I'm pointing out the obvious there. I'm just going to show you around what's here these days and show you around the Llanberis Lake Railway. Now this section here, I'm just having a scout around, because this is, I suppose you could say, a man-made section. This little bit of land that sticks out into the lake here all came about from tipping the slate off the hillside, bringing it down on those tubs and depositing all this shale, all this unwanted slate here. And they've kind of extended the land here on this transshipment area, and all the workshops sit on. Let's have a look over here, just because we can. Look, yeah, look at that. So that's all been fetched down there, and we can turn around looking back towards the quarries. And the main Dinorwic Quarry just round the corner there, and that's the Vivian quarry here. We'll show you what that's all about shortly as well. Unfortunately, on my visit today, we've parked up at the National Slate Centre. That's closed at the moment, closed in 2024 for refurbishment. It's not due to open until next year, so it's not just like we've come on a bad week, you know. It's closed for quite a significant amount of time, and there's so much work going off here. Morgan Sindel are doing a lot of work in here, and a lot of stuff's out of bounds, unfortunately. They are putting in new power lines from the power station, Dinorwic Power Station, which is just round the corner. They're putting the electricity lines underground. But as a result of that work, unfortunately, the Llanberis Lake Railway isn't running. It's not running down the lake, it's only running half mile or so from Gilfach Ddu down into the centre of Llanberis, just over the road from the Snowdon Mountain Railway, which is a bit of a shame, because that was going to be the piece that this final video was going to be centred around, seeing that old, you know, those old slate locomotives. Llanberis Lake Railway is obviously built on the old route of the Padarn Railway. That closed in the 1960s, and they got this up and running soon after. Those little trucks over there, look, those carts look like they've got the railings on the side. That's the ones that we can see in those photographs, you know, that are piggybacking. The 2-foot wagons that piggyback on the 4-foot wagons. So all those photos and the little clips of the films and that BFI video of that yard, that's here, that's taken down here. There's a lot going on here. We've got a lot of buildings, we've got a lot of, you know, old workshops, engine sheds. So when all the quarries were going out of business in the 1960s, all this was put up for auction, and all this site here and all these old workshops and buildings at Gilfach Ddu, it was all snapped up by Carnarvonshire County Council, and that's why it still survives. That's why we've still got all these historic remains today. So these are the old workshop buildings, and there's some history here, and again we can see those on all those old photographs. And that's still the railway workshops, look. That's where the line comes in, just from the station there, where we've just seen the steam locomotive. Got tops here, little Ruston shunts are just there, parts there. Look, got a little turntable there. Look, that tiny little turntable. And there's the Llanberis Lake Railway, look, just running alongside of the road. And that was extended a number of years ago, actually, to go into Llanberis itself, just opposite Snowdon Mountain Railway. There's certainly some history in the workshops. There's a giant water wheel in there, and the foundry and the smithy, all direct links to the old Padarn days. And Glini Bala, I believe that's the old quarry manager's house now, which is now holiday flats. An interesting piece of information about that, the old quarry manager's house. So just where we filmed the little steam engine leaving the station, just across the road from there is the old engine shed. I'll take some footage of it. Can't get around to it, unfortunately. It's closed off because it's all in the construction zone. And it's got an interesting history. It was built in 1870 to house the first of the steam locomotives that were in use on this railway. But for most of its life, it's actually served the purpose as a museum. But just by the engine shed, there's a little archway into a tunnel. That quarry manager living in that house didn't want the trains going through his garden. We didn't want to see the smoke from the trains. We've heard that plenty of times on our travels, haven't we? So they basically put the railway line into the quarry underneath that tunnel. That's just there, look, that's the engine shed by the tunnel. And yeah. That's obviously where we were in part one, isn't it? Looking out of that tunnel. We're just having a walk now, just behind the station, just behind Gilfach Ddu, because here's the bottom of the Vivian quarry. Now this is named after one of the quarry managers. Yeah, it was named after Hon Walter Warwick Vivian, and he was the Dinorwic Quarry manager from 1884. Not a very popular chap by all accounts, reading some of the accounts from the time. But we've still got this fantastic incline here, look. But it's almost just completely preserved. I do believe it's been restored, and as you can see, what's different about this one from other inclines we've covered in the past, look, is that the wagons remain level, look. And you see like the transporter type cars on there, and when it gets to the bottom here, look, they just simply roll onto these tracks here. And we've got like a traverser, haven't we, there, look, that just switches up its way all across here. Does that pivot? Hey, you know, I'm no expert. You know, I don't come here with everything, you know, knowing every single fact, look, because there is this line that comes out of here. Look, I've walked straight past it. I was reading the sign, but I didn't notice what the sign was on. So that's it there, isn't it, look? It says here, this is the only Slate incline working today in the United Kingdom, so it is technically still works. V2 incline, used from 1875 until the early 1930s. We're not doing a full explore of this quarry, but we'll have a walk up and we'll just show you what's up there. Look at this, 1886 date stone on there. A little bridge underneath that incline. And that's the top of the lower incline. So it does go up further than that. That's not the entirety of the incline. Always looks good in Slate, doesn't it? It looks so neat. Work of art, that. Looking back down there, look. That's it. Oh, you can't really see, can you? But that's looking down to Gilfach Ddu down there. And this would be the brake drum house here. I'd love to see this working. It's just telling you here just about how this was used to carry the finest roofing slates down. Yeah, obviously everything that came down from here went on that railway that we've been following. Let's have a look in here then. Well, there's some of those slate tubs. We've seen in so many pictures, haven't we? 2-foot tubs. And if we just show you up there, look, there's the drum. We've seen these. Where we saw on, remember the Taliclin? Oh, that's a few years ago now. One of the first Welsh videos I ever did. Llanberis Quarry. There's one of these on the top above Gwernol Station. Look, the next level, the incline for the next level up, look. Same setup again, look, brake drum at the top, but obviously, as you can see, this one's not restored. So this is more of in an abandoned state. Oh, look at that wall, that retaining wall there. And you can see that, yeah, the rope, the wire rope is tossed to the side. Yeah, nice comparison, isn't it? It's nice to see that one restored, but it's interesting just to see that edition unrestored as well. Is this something that would go inside one of those brake drums, perhaps? Purely a guess. What down there? Look at this for a view. Looking over everything we've seen and showed you early on in this video, look. The old workshops there. I didn't see that wheel down there. There's like a like a conveyor down there, isn't there? Look, and look, all this, what we showed you earlier, you know, about all the slate that was brought down. So where's this incline then? My bearings you can't see for the trees, can you? But what a view. Look, and there's the lake. And there's Llanberis over the other side. I don't know if you can make it out. To be honest, it's quite difficult with the eyes, but can you see the viaduct? Just somewhere there. The Snowdon Mountain Railway just starting its climb up to the top of Snowdon. That's some ways you can't see it, it's in the cloud. It's just over there. It's the same setup on top of this one, isn't it? Just a little, well, quite a bit more deteriorated. Are we on the top of that huge retaining wall here then? Let me just lean you over there. Push on this wall. But look, we can see right the way down to the inclines where we started, look, and the station at the bottom. So that's the winding, not the winding drum, the brake drum house that's been restored. And there'd be the incline just coming up. These are steep, aren't they? I'm guessing that's why they built them like this, with the flat carts on there. But yeah, here's the drum house, look. Stuff like this is why I do these videos. Let's have a look around the corner. I'm hoping we can, yeah, we can look, we can get right inside, right underneath the brake drum. Just have a look. It is dark, I hope it's coming out okay. Look at the gears, wheels, cogs. That thing we were looking at down there with the wheels on, I think I was right, wasn't it? Look. Look. Just watch these brambles, always designed to trip you up. We don't want to be going over there, but wow. I hope that's coming across on camera just how steep that incline is just there. Look, and here's the rope. I pointed that out from the bottom, look. Still attached to the drum. Just curling off to the side. What a view. And look, what was this? Completely missed this. Look at the frayed rope off this one. And look at that. I didn't even notice behind me. I'm just so overwhelmed by all this. Look, there's the next level of the quarry. I've just come up one more level. You can probably tell by my breathing. That was quite a climb up there. I've had a minute ready to go. And look at that wheel there. I really hope it's coming across on camera just how steep those are. And look, it goes from an embankment, it's on an embankment here. Look at it going into the cutting. I would love to have seen these in use, I really would. They say if you can go back in time, there's things I'd love to go back and just watch. This is going to be one of those. It's quite a drop down there. Let's go and have a look at the brake drum house. Here's the rope on the floor, look, the wire rope. You can just see up how close, just exactly how thick they are. looking over. Oh, what's this? This is a third incline, isn't it? And there is another one behind me. I really don't know how far up. I didn't plan on coming this far up, to be honest. I don't know how far up into the quarry, you know, how far up this little Vivian quarry. I say little Vivian quarry, it's far from small. Still got rails in there, look, still visible. I didn't notice them on that last one, but it was a little bit more overgrown. One of the clearest memories of coming here as a child, when I was about 12, was walking through the gap underneath where I'm stood here on this road and walking out into like a lagoon, crystal clear, light blue lake. And that was this. It's not so light blue, it's not as tropical as I remember as a 12-year-old, but just walking out into this absolute, it just took my breath away. And the thing I remember, can you see the little wagon suspended from the ropeway there? As I understand it, when they're quarrying further down, look, you can see they're going down in stages. They're kind of hoisting that slate onto these, you know, the tops of these inclines. Those inclines are just down there, only just here, where we've just been walking, and they've been zigzagging their way up to the top of here. So I suppose they'll be fetching it out at the level or from the top, and they're bringing it down. I say it frequently on my videos, don't I? I know we've got photographs in my dad's photo collection of that wagon and that lake. I've not been able to locate that photo, unfortunately. That would have been really nice to look back at that. I mentioned that tunnel, didn't I, just by the engine shed? That's the engine shed, we're at the back of it there, look. They are working down there, right, by the engine shed. But look at the incline there, that's fantastic. Look at the rollers and the rope still on there, the wire rope cable going up there. So just a reminder, this goes up actually into Dinorwic Quarry. Yeah, look at the roller there, that's seen some use, hasn't it, that? I'm kicking myself now for not venturing to the top of this incline. I assumed that we'd cover the top end of this when we did the Dinorwic Quarry episode, which I shot a few days after. But as we know from that earlier episode, that didn't quite go to plan, did it? And there is the engine shed, look. I'm just below here, look. If I just show you that building just on the top here, that's the old hospital for the quarry, Dinorwic Quarry. I think that at the peak of the quarry, it served 3,000 workers. A dangerous job, isn't it, quarrying? You know, I can see there'd be a lot of hand injuries, maybe falls, things like that, you know. The men are dangling from ropes. It's a very, very dangerous occupation. So they had a hospital on site there. So that's the alignment of the Llanberis Lake Railway there. And of course, looking back as well, the alignment of our Padarn Railway. Like you can see the stop boards just there, just past the end of that shed. Shame that, it's a shame it's not running. That's really, really scuppered my kind of whole ethos of this video is we catch the train on the course of the old railway. Never mind, at least we can see it, look, at least we can see. There's the railway line, look, can you see the tracks just hugging the shore of the lake? So we've showed you around some of the things at the quarry end of the Padarn Railway, but we've not really told you too much about the actual Llanberis Lake Railway, which opened in 1971. Around 2 miles, utilising the old route of the 4-foot Padarn Railway along cycling Padarn. When this narrow gauge railway was established, it was laid in 2-foot gauge, roughly. Therefore, we see many of the old Dinorwic-based quarry locos operating on it, like Dolbadarn. I make sure I get the B and the D in the right order on this one, unlike on the previous video. The current station building on the Llanberis Lake Railway used to be the old Checkers office. And what about the 4-foot locos that originally ran on the Padarn Railway? Now, quite a few people asked after our Padarn Railway episode if sourcing replacements and spares was an issue with such an unusual gauge, and possibly so. The most well-known loco is probably Fire Queen, the first loco built,
and the only survivor remaining intact. It's seen here by the old engine shed that we saw earlier, and it was in the National Trust Museum at Penrhyn Castle for a while. I now believe it resides in Aberystwyth. There were other locos too: Jenny Lind, Pandora, Hardy, Dinorwic and Vellinhelly, the latter being an interesting story as it had been dismantled for overhaul when the railway closed. Now, some locomotive parts survived still in the old workshop, and usually it can be seen within the National Slate Museum when it's open.
The plan for this episode was to cover a little bit of the Llanberis Lake Railway. I'm at the other end, I'm right at the other end of the lake now. I'm at the, I can't remember the name of the halt now. What's the name of the halt? I'll put it on screen. Now, I wanted to go and have a look, just say, look, this is the alignment, this is the old Padarn Railway, and this is as far as this railway comes today. Morgan Sindel, they've been blocking my access for the majority of this episode. I can't get near that station. The path's blocked off down there. I'll show you down here. So that's a shame. I can see the station just through the trees down there. The footpath to it just down there is all fenced off. I don't know, looking through there, like the tracks are actually lifted. It's difficult to tell, but it's almost as like there's rows of tracks stacked on top of one another there. Oh, there we go. I think that's the best shot that we're gonna get, look. I mean, there's no platform there, is there, look, but can you see the sign? That's the terminus. This is the terminus of the railway here. The tracks are up, aren't they? Or at least one of the tracks, look. So are they putting the cables underneath the track bed?
And this was the location that we started episode 4, where we followed the length of the Padarn Railway back to Port Dinorwic, the one in the rain, if you remember. I hope you enjoyed this series as much as I did putting it together, despite all the challenges and the weather. It was filmed over the course of a 3-day trip back in October 2025. It's now December and I'm just about dried out. If you saw that quarry video, you'll know why. If you like a little bit of behind the scenes action and that personal touch, I did put together a special video showing how we filmed this series. It's available to my YouTube channel members. Now, membership's just £2 a month, and that supports the channel and it helps me get to places like this and make these videos. And thanks to Phil and Steve for their company, laughs, bacon sarnies, contributions and support with these videos. It's always a pleasure. And thanks to my channel members and supporters, I really couldn't do these series of videos without you. And finally, thanks to the wonderful people of North Wales. I've tried to make an effort with the place names and pronunciations, and we've come across some crackers on this series. The level of, shall we say, feedback seems to have decreased as the episodes have gone on. You've either had enough by now or have improved slightly, not sure which. Hugh Wheel Fower at Diolch. Take care, see you soon, ta-ra.